Hi everyone, how you doing? I'm back with another video again. I've just finished work. It's today is Tuesday the 13th of February 2024. And just before I begin, I just want to apologise about the sound quality of the last video. It was pretty ropey. I was using a different mic. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me crystal clear, or as clear as I can with the current mic situation. I hope you're all doing well. The reason I've done this video is I just wanted to share with you a post that I found online, and it's by somebody who has basically won big at gambling. So she starts off, in November I won a great amount of money from slot games. I felt like I could play forever with only small bets. Before that, I didn't do any high betting or raising the bet, etc. But my mind just didn't want to play small anymore from that period on. I simply didn't want to, which in the end result is I lost a huge amount. Trying to win back the money that I won, I kept on raising my bets, and that resulted last week in losing all of the money that I won initially. And then I went on to spend part of my savings. So the casino got all of my big win back, and it took a big chunk of my savings because I kept thinking I could win big again. My gambling mind still thinks like that at the moment. And the person goes on, how often does it work like this? I feel so stupid giving it back and even including a part of my savings. I just felt such an urge to win again, but I know it won't stop by then. So now I'm 6 days gambling free, but I've still got such big cravings for gambling. So this story, I mean, it isn't unique. I mean, we've all had big wins, but the issue is we don't walk away. We keep going and keep going and keep going. So it's not really about the money. It's not, because the thing is, you could win £1 million, you could win $1 million. That still wouldn't be enough, because you'd carry on. You'd carry on looking for another win, and another win, and no real win would ever satisfy. And then we could say, right, I've won enough now. That's all I need. That I don't need to gamble anymore, because I've won enough and I'm content with what I've won. That never happens. It never happens. I've never ever met anybody who can say that they were content with the amount that they won through gambling. Ever. Never happens. And unfortunately, a lot of people do experience this, where they win big initially, and that win spurs them on to continue gambling, and then before they know it, their life is down the toilet, and they're massively in debt, bank accounts rinsed, and so on and so forth. So this isn't an uncommon experience. It's common. It happens to a lot of us. We get brought in through the big win, and then continue to gamble, and then before we know it, we develop into it develops into a gambling addiction. Some people can walk away, so that's the difference. There's different type of gamblers. There's gamblers that will go out and have a bit of fun, and then say, right, I'm not going to do that for a while. I've got 20 quid. I've got 20, 30 quid there. I'll go and have a flutter, and then leave it at that once they've lost their money. Then you've got another type of gambler who will gamble big, who'll then lose a load of money, and then be like, fuck that, I'm not doing that again. And they've still got the power to choose whether they gamble or not, and they've got the ability, maybe through some therapy or whatever, that they've got the ability to still say no. But then you've got another type of gambler. You've got the gambling addict who will gamble when he doesn't want to, will gamble when he wants to, and will gamble when there's nothing going on at all. So it's like there's no pattern that triggers the gambling addict. A gambling addict will gamble and try and look for some reason for it, but usually the gambling addict doesn't have a clue why he's doing it. Doesn't have any understanding of why he's doing it. Is the gambling addict is completely baffled why they're continuing to do it, despite despite all the evidence to the contrary to say that they shouldn't do it, they can't do it safely. It's like it's like if we put our hand on a hot stove and we get burnt, we know not to do it. We know not to do it again. But with the gambling addict hasn't got that defense to stop them putting their hands on a hot stove. There's no defense. There's no mental defense there against putting a hand on a hot stove. The mental defense is gone, and that's similar. And using that as an analogy, that's similar with a gambling addict. There is no mental defense against us putting that first bet on, because it's the first bet that we place that is the problem. It's not the last bet. It's not the 5th bet or the 10th or the 12th or whatever. It's the first one, because if we don't put the first one on, we won't put the 2nd bet on, the 3rd bet on, the 4th bet on, the 5th bet on, and so on and so forth until our bank account is emptied, until we've got no food left, no money for food, until we've got no money for rent, until our relationship breaks down, until we end off losing our job, all these kind of things. But even when all that stuff happens, that still won't stop us, because there's a person who has the ability to choose whether they do it or not, will, after having all of those experiences, believe you me, choose not to do it. They will turn around and go, sod this, I'm not doing it again, and have the power to be able to walk away. But a gambling addict doesn't have that luxury. They don't have the luxury of choice. That's why we continue. So we lack the power to choose whether we're going to do it or not. When our mind twists on us, we could be having a perfectly good day, and then suddenly the thought will cross our mind: I'll put some money on. I'll load an account up online. I'll put 20 quid online, and so everything's been going swimmingly. Everything's been going fine. But at that moment, when that thought comes into mind, where's all the experiences? What's happening to all of those experiences that we've previously had? That when gambling's brought us to our knees. So when that thought suddenly crosses our mind, I think I'll put 20 quid on. I'll load 20 quid onto my online gambling account. What's actually going on? Why can't we remember all of that information, the wealth of information, the wealth of experience that we have of every time we go back to gambling, that it ends off in disaster? Why can't we remember that? Why can't we bring that to mind to get us to say, fuck that, that's a stupid idea, Mark? Why can't we do that? What's actually going on? It's like the mind the function, it's like our mind, the way it functions breaks down because normally when we sense danger, we're able to recoil. We get a fight or flight. We get panicky and we're like, woo, woo, when we sense danger. Think about an experience you've had where you felt in a dangerous situation. What's your immediate response? Get the hell out of there. It's the same with gambling. When we're about to gamble, that is a dangerous, dangerous situation. For a gambling addict to go back, for a gambling addict to gamble is dangerous, because a lot of gambling addicts end up committing suicide because they just have lost all hope of ever finding a solution to their issues. And some people have been talking about gambling getting worse. Well, that's normal. That's perfectly normal for somebody trapped up within a gambling addiction, for the addiction to get worse, because it progresses. It gets worse and worse and worse until we get some power from somewhere that'll act as a barrier between us and that first bet. If something can act as a barrier between us and that first bet, then it's fine. That's it. That's the problem solved. Because if there's no first bet going on, there is not going to be no end result where relationships are breaking down, we're losing our children, losing jobs, up to our eyeballs in debt, suicidal thoughts. All that kind of stuff won't happen because the cause, being our gambling, will be addressed. That's it. It's like, if that first bet doesn't go on, we've got nothing to worry about. If the first bet doesn't go on, but we don't have the power of ourselves to not put it on. Now, we might be able to do it for a week. We might be able to do it for 10 days. We might be able to do it for a month, a couple of months, or a year, or whatever. But with the gambling addict, because there's a strange condition of the mind, there will come a time when the mind breaks down and the mind reassures us it's perfectly safe, it's perfectly okay, don't worry about it, I'll look after you, everything's going to be fine, just put £20 on and we'll be okay. And then we put £20 on because we have no defence against what's going on in our head. We have no defence, and then we're off. How can we defend ourselves against our mind that will reassure us that it's perfectly safe, it's perfectly okay, and nothing to worry about, through placing the first bet? How can we defend ourselves against that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of our lives? We need something. We need something to take responsibility for keeping us gambling free. We need something to take over control of the whole gambling issue, because we don't have any control over it. When it comes to this whole thing about the first step and about being powerless over our gambling addiction, that our life had become unmanageable, admitting that to ourselves, recognizing that my situation is hopeless, it's not going to get better, it's going to get worse, and recognizing and becoming willing to believe that in the possibility that just something other than me might be able to help me. And then we come to the third step. We come to the third step in a 12-step recovery program. We made a decision. So we haven't put any action in or anything like that. We make a decision to turn our will, our thoughts, and our actions, our lives, our thoughts and actions over to the care of a higher power, whether we understand what it is or not. And how we do that is we start an inventory process in the fourth step. So within the inventory process, we're looking at all of the things we're resentful over. We're looking at all the people we've harmed throughout our gambling addiction, and all of our fears and things like that. And we have a real serious analysis of ourselves. We don't think about the fifth step in thinking that we're going to share this with somebody else. It's just a personal, at this moment, it's just a personal thing between you and the paper. And what we're doing this for is to clear out all the shite, all the stuff that's blocking us off from living a new life. So we're looking to let go of all the selfishness, inconsideration towards others, all of this kind of stuff that holds us back. And the whole process of the inventory is to really get to the crux of the problem. Because they say that once we straighten out spiritually, we also straighten out mentally as well. Because the thing that's blocking us off from the power that can take care of our gambling for us, we have to get through this whole inventory process and recognize what part of our characters doesn't work for us anymore. We look at selfishness, inconsideration, look at times when we're discontent, all of these things, rather than constantly going around blaming the world and everybody else in it for our problems. Now, the addiction itself, the gambling addiction itself, we're not responsible for the gambling addiction, but we are responsible for recovery from it. And what we're responsible for is seeking a higher power that can do for us what we can't do for ourselves. So we can't do anything about the addiction, but we can seek the refuge of a higher power through working and applying and going through these 12 steps, that when we get to the end will bring about a dramatic change in our outlook and view on life. Some call it a spiritual experience. If you want to call it that, great. Some prefer to call it a dramatic realignment of our views and conceptions of life and our place in the universe. That sounds a bit cosmic, doesn't it? But it sounds pretty good, doesn't it? It sounds pretty good, and they also say, rarely have we seen a person feel who's thoroughly followed this path. In the recovery literature, it says that, and some of the promises, there's promises in there as well. It's like you're going to know a new sense of a new power and a new sense of freedom. You're gonna know a new usefulness and a new sense of freedom once you've gone through all these steps. And it's not a long and laborious thing. That's the thing. It's not a long and laborious thing. You can do it. I mean, we've just, a lot of these videos I talk about the first step in a lot of these videos, because this is where a lot of people are. But in order to get from that from A to B, there's some action that needs to be put in. And I'm not talking about anything that I haven't done myself. That's a great thing. It's like I'm not making some cosmic shit up in my mind and putting it out there and pretending I'm, it's not. These are things that I've done that have radically transformed my life, and maybe they have the ability to radically transform yours as well. And this is the reason why I do this, because I was told repeatedly that the only way that I'm going to keep what I've got is through giving it away to others. And one of the conditions on me maintaining and strengthening what I have is constantly thinking of how I can best help people and others who are in the same situation. So this is the only motivation I've got for doing this. You know, and the responses that I've been getting have been amazing. Have been amazing, because I'm going through all this stuff again with you as well as I'm talking about this. I'm learning new stuff as well as I'm talking and looking at posts online and stuff like that. I mean, there's videos I've found on YouTube that have been amazing, that have really broken down the steps similar to what I'm doing with you, but they've gone into more in depth, like on the third step and things like that. So what I'm going to do, I may actually put that video in the description if anybody's interested in it. It's coming from a guy who is a long-term member of Alcoholics Anonymous, but he's talking about his experience with the third step. Now, the substance is different, so he's talking about alcohol, but if you think about gambling and your experience with gambling, when he's talking about alcohol and his experience, look for the similarities in what he's talking about, and really listen to what he's saying. I do think that this video will be of benefit to people who are considering taking up the 12 steps and going through with it. So I'm going to leave this video here. It's a little bit long. It's 20 minutes or so, this video, but I'm off work for a few days, so I might do another one at a later point, either later today or tomorrow. But I'm gonna get something to eat, and then I'm gonna get off to bed. But take care, stay safe, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now.